Hey everyone, it's Types, and if somehow you didn't know this, Dragapult EX is like by far the best deck in the Pokemon TCG standard format right now. It's pretty absurd. I'm not gonna lie. Looking at in-person results, it's 45% of the metagame or of the points there, which is a lot. Splitting into different variants, it's still really high. I'm actually not 100% sure where the variance fell. This is to Dunn's price build. I think some of the other builds have to Dunn's price, and he got some different builds. But anyways, it's crazy. Dragapult is super good. And so today we're going to be talking about why your favorite deck isn't as good as Dragapult. First of all, what makes Dragapult so good? This is an average build. I'll actually pull up an actual build just from a tournament. And what makes it that good? Well, you have Dracloak, which draws you cards, which is super good. And you have Dragapult EX. Well, Dracloak draws you cards in a decent manner. Dragapult EX is your main attacker, which is very efficient and powerful as well, which is also super good. And also you have the Pokemon Badoo, which is one of the best Pokemon in the game as well, allowing you to disrupt your opponent. Positivity EX rounds out the draw engine quite nicely to draw some extra cards. You can throw in Meowth EX there as well for that extra draw. It makes use of the top supporters and items in the game really well. Liz, Determination, and Boss Orders, as well as Crispin to some extent as well. These are the three best supporter cards in Standard right now, and it makes use of them all quite well. Buddy Buddy Poffin, Ultra Ball, Pokepad, and also Night Stretcher to an extent are all used very well in the deck as well. They search out your Pokemon quite well. Dracloak, which is one of the most important Pokemon in the deck, is searchable with all. Well, it's not searchable with all of them. The Dreepy is searchable with all of them. The Dracloak is searchable with Ultra Ball and Pokepad, so still very searchable there. And you want to run 4 copies of it. This is important to obviously get your engine going and drawing cards, and also, so you can actually get your Dragapult EX up. You could Rare Candy, but being able to Dracloak into Dragapult EX is super good just for these slower games. The deck is able to adapt to slower games and also apply pressure when it needs to as well. It also is able to use a card like Mikey Dory, a pretty good card, quite well. It's a little awkward with the energy typing, but it's not too bad, especially with Crispin there. So it also is able to tech in its various different cards like Blaziken EX or Blaziken EX. We see so many different builds of it. So it's just really, really good. This isn't a video about Dragapult, but I want to start off talking about it because it is the gold or the platinum standard. It is so, so good. But looking at the first deck, that's not as good as Dragapult because, again, no deck is as good as Dragapult. We have Zoroark EX, which is actually the deck that I say is the most similar to Dragapult EX. You have the main Pokemon here in Zoroark EX, which is both a good draw card. I'd say Trade is about as good as Recon Directive there. For drawing cards, it actually sees 2 cards, and you increase your hand size by 1. So it's actually very similar in that way. It does discard and draw 2, so it's probably a little better, especially with some of that discard synergy for using something like End's PPF as well. So you have that there. And Night Joker is somewhat versatile. I said Dragapult EX's attack was good. It's good because it can hit the bench. It does good active damage. And Zoroark EX can kind of do those things, but it requires some more pieces, and I would say the deck can definitely struggle to get going at times. You also struggle more to search out your Zoroark EXs. You can't use Pokepad to find those there, so you're going to need to use something like Cyrano or just draw them and get a bunch in play, but setting up is a little harder there. Also, you just have less options. I mean, theoretically, you could have more options using Mantan or something like that, but that's going to be more clunky. Overall, the deck is good, and Zoroark EX is a good deck. All the decks I'm talking about are pretty good, but not anywhere near the same tier as Dragapult EX. It's arguable whether or not they are within a tier of it, I would say, and I think most people would say that they aren't. Dragapult EX is not only in a tier of its own, but there's a whole tier that's empty between Dragapult and the next decks below it. And also, by the way, any fans of the hide and sneak deck from Pitch Black, unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be completely changing the metagame. I think Dragapult EX is still going to be on a tier of its own, and I honestly do still think it will be a deck that is going to have that whole tier gap, that empty tier between Dragapult and then the second place deck there. But Zoroark EX, again, can do some decent stuff. It's just not quite as good as Dragapult. Your attack is, again, less versatile. Rampaging Thunder does a little more active damage, but that's it. And you have some slightly better switching. You can use Mikey Dory a little bit better, I guess. And the other darkness stuff as well, you can use a little bit better. You have some things you do decently well, but nothing you do that much better than Dragapult. And you do a bunch of things worse than Dragapult. You're a stage 1, which is nice, but it's not quite Dragapult here. Then we have the next deck here. This is, well, it's categorized here on Limitless as, what was it categorized? Ogerpon box. Online is categorized as, I actually don't know. Let me look here. Actually, there is the deck basic box. I actually didn't even know that was the term. I think that's the term being used for this deck. I don't think there are other decks, or the categorization on Limitless. It's often called slot box. What exactly this deck means, actually tell me in the comment section how you define this deck. The deck is sometimes called slot box, sometimes Ogerpon Clefairy is sometimes what I call it, or basic box, or whatever. You have Mega Kangaskhan EX, Ogerpon EX, Clefairy EX, and a bunch of different things. This is the most recent top list at the time of recording this. I will mention the tournament in AIC is happening at the time of recording this, and by the time of releasing this, it's going to be pretty much done. Actually, tomorrow I will be making a video talking about it. So, one, if somehow this ages terribly and Dragapult is like nowhere to be found, I'll be talking about that tomorrow. If it is everywhere to be found, I will also be talking about that tomorrow. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that, and also to support me. I really do appreciate that, and like the video and all that good stuff. But this deck is weird. So yeah, tell me in the comment section what you think about this deck. I might make a whole video on it or like a post about it, and just kind of talk about it. It's super weird, but a big thing you're doing is hitting weakness. Clefairy EX hits weakness on Dragapult EX. I will mention a lot of the counters to Dragapult EX aren't super good counters. Clefairy EX as a Pokemon actually as a regular attacker is decent. It's one of the best ones in the deck. But this one-shots Clefairy EX, one-shots Dragapult EX. And Dragapult EX also one-shots Clefairy EX, and they give the same amount of prizes up. So I guess you have Lily's Pearl, so then you trade positively. But if you don't have Lily's Pearl, you're also taking bench damage, so you're actually trading negatively or evenly. It kind of depends. And you're not, I mean, you're relatively easy to power up. You're easier to power up than Dragapult EX, but like all the Pokemon in this deck, I guess Wellspring by Ogerpon EX is good for applying pressure in some situations that most decks can find themselves in, and Mega Kangaskhan EX, I suppose, also can do crazy damage. So, but that's based on luck. I guess Ogerpon EX, I guess, also can do crazy damage, but again, that's kind of situational. So overall, the cards are all situational. They are okay, but I mean, Passimian, I think, is the best example of this, or maybe Tapu Koko EX. These cards are very mediocre, and if you're relying on them as just generally like good attackers, they aren't that. So the deck has a bunch of pieces that are useful for pretty much like covering every matchup in the game, but also what if what if you're not in those matchups? But two, you're not going to get exactly what you want all the time because you have so many different moving pieces. So you're going to have to sacrifice some stuff. And just against a general good Pokemon, unless you have the exact right answer and are able to use it repeatedly, you just can't quite get there. The deck is cool, honestly, really fun. I do like this deck, but it doesn't always get there, and it definitely kind of flails his arms around at some times. Then we have the next deck. This is somewhat similar. This is Raging Bolt. There's actually a bunch of overlap here. You see stuff like the Passimian, like Clefairy EX, and Wellspring by Ogerpon EX in this list here. But Raging Bolt EX is capable of doing big damage and is a bit more consistent in terms of your game plan. You're doing something more similar, and Raging Bolt EX is capable of doing big damage. This deck's honestly pretty good, and I would say deck 2 right now. That being said, it's still a little meh at times. You're not always getting these big knockouts. The deck can kind of fall apart. This has been my criticism of the deck pretty much since people started playing it. The deck can just kind of fall apart. So this is also true with the Slotbox deck. This requires more pieces, though. You need a bunch of energy in play, which again is doable with the different pieces there, but it's not super easy depending exactly what you're playing for engine pieces. And also with the different engine pieces, you're going to leave a bench which is pretty vulnerable to your opponent kind of picking away at it in any way that they want to. Well, picking away at it as in they can take big knockouts on big 3 prizes or 2 prizes, or you might have single prize lying around as well. And in keeping track of that, you need to spend more resources, and you just kind of run out of gas at times, or just get hit by some hand disruption, and then you are sad. So yeah, this deck is good, but things can fall apart. And it's also, again, a bit more linear, which can be nice, but also you're struggling to deal with different things at different times as well, like, say, a single prize or something like that. That could be rough if they're taking one-shots on you. And we have the next deck here. This is Mega Greninja. Shout out to Tim Danklin for making this list. I actually haven't tried this list, but I saw it looks super cool with the Festival lead. engine, I guess is why I describe it there. The Festival Beat engine is honestly super fun, super sketchy, but super fun. And the deck is super fun, but super sketchy. It's kind of bad. I'm not gonna lie. This deck is not super good. It is, I guess, the top deck from the new set. Looking online, it is the number 2 deck, which is kind of crazy because it's definitely not the second best deck in the game. But I wanted to include it because it is fun and because it's very popular as well. Beedrill EX, I'd say, is a bit better. Beedrill is fine. It's not super good, but it's okay. Greninja EX is not good, unfortunately. It's not like unplayably bad or anything like that, but I mean, in terms of consistently doing well, it's not doing that, unfortunately, because you have so many moving pieces and things can, I was gonna say, fall apart, which they can, I guess, but things can just like never get going. You're relying on like Neo Upper Energy, A1 of special energy. That's kind of rough there. You need lots of energy moving around in different places, and your payoff is it's essentially the same payoff as Dragapult EX, except you don't have the draw engine really. You don't have as much reliability. Well, Dragapult EX, you're playing like all the best cards in the game. That Greninja EX or Mega Greninja EX is like that, except if you were playing cards that were just worse. So yeah, that's it. It's just like a worse Dragapult. That's how I describe it. It's not just a worse Dragapult, but like it kind of is. Then we have the next deck here, which is Alakazam. Alakazam, this is one of the decks that randomly just like sometimes people in my comment section just like overrate like crazy. Not all the time, but it is a deck that sometimes people really think is awesome. I mean, it is kind of awesome. I'm not gonna lie, it's really fun. I was considering making a whole video on it about its card design because it's pretty fun. But it really needs like lots of cards in hand. So if you really get hit by a hand disruption, that's not good. It's not happening too much, but that is something worth noting. Also, it's a single prize deck. You kind of get picked apart by Dragapult. Yes, you got Battle Cage, but your opponent can also just bump Battle Cage. So, yeah. You can also get walled off by certain things that wall off effects of attacks. Specifically, you're looking at some of the special energies, but you do run Enhanced Hammer for that, but also Galarian Articuno, or not Galarian Articuno, Team Rocket's Articuno there, that's going to stop you, like, completely. You can't do anything, essentially, in that situation, as far as I'm aware. So, unless there's something I forget about, well, there was a tech card you could play, but in terms of what's actually, like, in most lists, I don't really think you have many options there. So, that's pretty rough. There's just things that can just go wrong. But I feel like the main one is you're just getting picked apart in the bench. That just seems to happen. And there are lots of things that can just kind of go wrong with the deck. The deck can do some crazy things when it pops off. It's absurd. It's a single prize deck that's just like one-shotting everything in the game. But also, again, so much can go wrong. And it can be a bit like a house of cards. Honestly, a lot of the decks that are played right now that aren't Dragapult can fall apart pretty easily, and that's their main downside there. The next deck we got here is a deck that's actually kind of similar, another single prize evolution psychic deck. This is Slowking. I recently made a video on Slowking. By the way, check it out. It did like super badly on my channel as well, but it's actually a really good video with a really interesting game. Admittedly, well, I'm not going to dive into it too much. Not going to spoil it, but the game actually perfectly highlights Slowking and is a pretty funny game. There's some really silly moments in it, but Slowking is not like it's so inconsistent. This deck has the craziest pop offs. I said Alakazam has the craziest pop offs because it's doing like absurd amounts of damage. Well, damage counters, but essentially damage. Slowking does a lot of damage as well, but also Kyurem is just absurd, doing 110 to 3 opponent's Pokemon. This is like it's so good. I mean, we saw Regidrago just be so crazy good, and Slowking is like Regidrago except bad because it's a single prizer, so you need to reset it up like every turn, which is really hard to do because it requires so many resources. You need the Pokemon with the energy on it every turn, which is hard to do, but doable. You see single prize decks do that and do it at a mediocre level. But you also need to get another Pokemon and put it on top of your deck. And it is also 2 energies. It's very sketchy. It is so funny. You do some crazy stuff, and it can make some crazy comebacks as well. You're never out really until the very end, but you reach the very end, and are out a lot as well, because you just don't do anything. Sometimes you get hit by, I would say you get hit by a disruption, and you are out. You could have something like Kangaskhan EX, not actually in this list here, but you can use that with Latias EX to do some really powerful stuff. It uses telepathic Psychic Energy really well. It's a really fun deck, but it's more fun than good. When it is good, it's crazy, but a lot of the time it's not doing much. Then we got the next deck here. This is Mega Starmie. We've got Mega Frostlass here. There's some different builds on Mega Starmie. This is a deck that is pretty. It's honestly kind of like Dragapult. Mega Starmie EX does active damage and some bench damage. It's a Mega instead of a Stage 2, so they're kind of similar in that regard. Mega Starmie EX is a bit easier to power up, but also it just like is weaker than Dragapult and doesn't have a draw engine. So this is kind of like Mega Greninja, where it's just a bad Dragapult. You are weaker. Mega Greninja has slightly more options, but it requires more setup. Mega Starmie EX has less options and requires less setup, but neither of them have a draw engine and are just a lot more limited. Mega Starmie EX really relies on picking out your opponent's bench, which you can do pretty well with the deck, but when you're picking out your opponent's bench, you're mostly doing that. You're not really applying as much active pressure. Mega Frostlass can do that, but also can just do nothing, depending how well your opponents are able to play around it. So Mega Storm Mega Frostlass is a fun deck. Honestly, I really like playing with Mega Frostlass and Frostlass, but but Dragapult, just Dragapult's so good. So yeah, Dragapult is kind of just a better Mega Starmie there. Then we have the next deck here. This is Hydrapple. Hydrapple is fun. I was playing it recently, and I was like, wow, this deck's so cool. It can do big damage. It can take hits. It does kind of all the stuff you're wanting the deck to do. And then, like, your Meganium gets knocked out, and that's really bad, or something like that. You also need a bunch of pieces if you're looking to set up Hydrapple EX. You need the Hydrapple, you need the Meganium, you need probably multiple Ogerpons. I mean, getting the multiple Ogerpons isn't that hard. They kind of replace themselves with the drawing from the Grass Energy, so that's, like, fine enough, but I mean, Hydrapple with Meganium, it's fun. It's really powerful, but again, it is a bunch of pieces. It can kind of struggle at times. I mean, you need the stadium and you need how many Pokemon? You're looking at like probably 8 Pokemon or something like that, somewhere between 6 and 8. Like could be more like 9 there. And then you need so many energies as well. I mean, again, you do some draw there to kind of replace the energies, but that's going to be another 5 or something energies, something like that. With 5 energies, you're one-shotting stuff, I believe, right? 5 energies plus Meganium there, yeah, that's 330. So that is cool. I mean, you can get the like bug catching set and Selby and stuff, I suppose, but you definitely don't always get there. And also, if your opponent like knocks out something, you're kind of scrambling. You got like Alana's Aid for the Meganium or something. Now you have this like liability on your bench as well, which kind of sucks. Honestly, Hydrapple pretty tanky, can heal as well, which is really nice. But if your opponent's just gussing around it, then it doesn't really matter too much. And yeah, like the deck is really cool, really good, or pretty good. It's not bad, but at times it doesn't do too much like some of these other decks. I think it feels a little more safe. I mean, Tiamat Ogerpon EX is the backbone of the deck in a very big way. You can just kind of use that sometimes. Just attack with Tiamat Ogerpon EX, though, is not very good. With Meganium, it's okay. But the deck's decent. I actually do like this a lot more than Arboliva. I think Arboliva is bad, and I think Hydrapple is a lot better than Arboliva, but I don't think this deck is legitimately like super good. It's done well at points, and it can do really well, but yeah, it needs to get a little lucky in setting up something that Dragapult is able to do a lot better. It also, like, you look at the draw engine in the deck, it kind of doesn't really have one. So it's got Ogerpon to draw a couple of cards and do what you want, but it's not Dracloak there. Then we got the last deck, which is Mega Lucario. Honestly, Mega Lucario is pretty good. It's got an engine, it's got Gus, it's got big damage, but it's almost too fair is kind of how I describe it. Yes, it can take big knockouts, but it can struggle to get the energy acceleration. The draw's like okay. It is able to Gus with Hariyama, which is pretty nice. Something I was not actually expecting to be quite as good as it has been. And it also offers a single prize option. You have Solrex as a single prize option. So you also have different options that are pretty good. But again, they're all pretty fair, and you're just kind of hitting your opponent's active or hitting one Pokemon, and you're not able to really mess with them too much. So it is a good deck. You have like some healing as well, I guess, if you want. But the deck is pretty. It's too fair. Is kind of how I describe it. Dragapult is healing off your damage, doing damage to all different Pokemon, and really just messing with you in so many ways and really taking control of the game. Mega Lucario is not doing that. It's doing Aura Jabs, doing Mega Brave, it's doing some Lunar Cycling. It's a good deck, but it's not some crazy. I mean, it's a powerhouse in the sense of doing big damage, but it's not a powerhouse in terms of doing all these different things. It's fine, it's good, but it's not It's not crazy here. But overall, tell me, one, did I miss your favorite deck? If I did, unfortunately, it's probably not very good. I have a feeling you probably also know that. There are some decks here that are pretty decent. I will mention some. Mega Lopunny is decent with like healing. It's pretty nice against Pult there, just like healing a bunch. But like, what if you get one shot, right? That's pretty bad there. I will say, my goat Cynthia's super awesome. Unfortunately, well, one, it's kind of like doing some things like my Lucario almost a little too fair there. Also, it can just one get one shot by grass. Two, it can, or I guess two, because the first thing is it's a little too quote fair there. The third thing is it's just not that good. It's decent. It's pretty decent. Can do some really nice stuff. But overall, you look at like Goodbye, Cynthia's Goodbye, that's like a worse cloak, and saying Cynthia's Garchomp EX is a worse Dragapult like doesn't really make any sense to be honest. But Cynthia's Goodbye is like fine. But you're looking at the engine and you don't have like an actual engine. You got Cynthia's Garchomp EX to draw, but it's not all that. I will say Crustle. Crustle's pretty good. Oh, I guess Festival Lead as well. Festival Lead can fall apart, right? But can be pretty hype. Crustle. I mean, come on, it's Crustle. This is like not hype. It can do. It doesn't do anything, right? Let's be honest. Crustle doesn't do anything. So it can actually beat different decks by not doing anything, lots, and then like winning eventually. So yeah, I guess Crustle. That's the answer. Play Crustle if that's what you're looking for. But that's not the one I'm looking for. Also, Crustle just like if your opponent plays, some single prize deck, then you're just kind of sad. So, some single prize deck that's not it's not Alakazam there because you're just going to miss energy. But if I don't know, Slowking also is kind of bad. So I don't know how that matchup goes to be honest. But overall, there are some cool decks in the metagame. Unfortunately, they're all not good enough to beat Dragapult. There's like the reverse power creep thing people have been talked about, which is interesting. And yeah, some of these decks are really fun. Dragapult honestly is kind of fun if you haven't played it. It can do some cool things. So I would recommend trying it out if for some reason you just like avoid it completely because it can be fun. It's not completely broken when you're playing with it. It feels good because it's good, but it doesn't like you're not winning all your games potentially because all your opponents are also playing Dragapult. But overall, the answer is it's Dragapult, right? Dragapult is very, very good, and there are other fun decks you can play. They can beat it. Most of them are inconsistent, though. But tell me down below in the comment section if I missed your favorite deck. Also, make sure you like and subscribe, because that really does help support me and the channel. Also, huge shout out to my YouTube members supporting me and the channel. Doesn't mean a ton, but I hope y'all enjoyed, and as I was excited, see you in the next video.